Well, one of the things I think is it was a civilization that used psychedelics. I think it was a civilization that emerged from shamanism, but did not stay at the hunter-gatherer stage.
For more than 10 years, specialists have been perplexed by a vertical shaft located deep within the untamed mountains of the North Caucasus.
Remote and rugged region in the North Caucasus, in the Kabardino-Balkaria Republic of the Russian Federation, is a place of towering mountains and untamed wilderness.
Imagine going down into a room with walls made of enormous, precisely formed pieces of stone that are higher than 10 stories tall, yet nobody knows who constructed it or why. Is this a natural formation unlike anything science has ever recorded? Or is it the lost creation of a highly developed archaic civilization?
Area is the outcome of contact with an earlier, largely lost civilization.
The truth is so disturbing that it haunts researchers to this day and feeds an unsolvable mystery. The unsolved mystery shaft found a vertical shaft that is unlike any known natural cave system can be found in the isolated and untamed mountains of Russia's North Caucasus. This aperture, which was found close to the Kara-Hora mountaintop in Kabardino-Balkaria, immediately attracted notice for its remarkably straight edges and uncanny sheer plunge. The hole looked purposeful and crisp, almost as if it had been cut by human hands, in contrast to normal cave entrances, which are often ragged and uneven. Early explorers were both curious and perplexed when they soon discovered that what appeared to be a straightforward geological aberration was actually something much stranger. The shaft plunges almost 130 feet below the surface, which is about the depth of a 12-story structure. The walls were smooth, flat, and had parallel-lined stone planes, according to the explorers.
Made of parallel stone slabs that seemed perfectly geometrical, as if they were artificially made.
The rough, haphazard formations that are frequently observed in natural caves stood in sharp contrast to these polished surfaces. Rather than fissures and ridges formed by water or erosion, the walls sprang straight and merciless, surrounded by enormous slabs of stone that were precisely positioned. The first indication that the shaft might not be a straightforward natural creation was this unusual geometry. The actual descent was no easy task. Climbers had to use ropes and harnesses to descend the small vertical passageway inch by inch. There was always a risk. One slip might be lethal. Nevertheless, despite the danger, everyone inside said they increasingly felt as though they were entering something old and purposefully built, rather than just discovered. The cramped area intensified the foreboding ambiance as headlamp illumination revealed expertly constructed stone blocks extending far above, surpassing what many had anticipated in such a remote area. The tube abruptly expanded into a huge subterranean hall as the explorers descended. The scale got genuinely astounding at this point. The ceiling was far bigger than that of normal cave halls, rising almost 120 feet above the ground. Massive rectangular blocks, some weighing up to 200 tons, with joints so tight that no gaps were visible, made up the walls. The blocks appeared to have been designed to support a great deal of weight because they stood in some places like pillars. This finding transformed the shaft from a curious artifact into a possibly enormous prehistoric building. The lack of usual cave floor elements, such as natural detritus or uneven formations, made this location even more confusing. Rather, everything was sharp-edged, polished, and painstakingly squared. There were branching, narrow passages, but these were so uniform and close together that they appeared to be tunnels designed for a particular use, rather than haphazard natural defects. The entire area's geometry suggested purpose rather than accident, either an indication of human artistry or an unidentified geological process. However, in spite of these astounding discoveries, no convincing proof was discovered to identify the shaft's builder or its purpose. No tools, artifacts, or signs of ordinary human activity, such as broken pottery or residues of a torch, were found. The mystery was only made more complex by the silence around these hints. Due to the lack of typical archaeological evidence, the shaft either belonged to a much older or more exotic society. Then was known at the time or constituted a geological occurrence that science had not yet given a name to. Discussions broke out in the scientific and enthusiast circles as word of the discovery circulated. Was nature pulling a prank that we couldn't explain? Or was this a forgotten period of human history? The shaft defied classification, vacillating between options that went against accepted scholarly paradigms. Although physical descent was the main focus of the first reports, the true questions were still present. What does this structure represent? And what are the implications? A more thorough analysis was made possible by this combination of amazing geological anomalies and possible human engineering. Though the truth remained hidden in the shadows beneath the mountain, the mystery of the shaft captivated people's imaginations. One might only get close to an answer by delving deeper into the region's rich history and cultural background. The deeper they went, the more it appeared that there were hidden mysteries reverberating through time beneath the surface, in addition to stone and shadow. And such mysteries would lead to the core of old legends, beyond the realm of geology. The Caucasus Mountains legends stories, as wild and untamed as the terrain itself, have long been woven throughout the Caucasus Mountains, which are home to the Kabardino-Balkaria area. Stories about secret underground cities, maze-like passageways, and underground have been passed down through the generations by the local population. According to these legends, whole towns reside beneath the surface, perhaps to protect knowledge that has been lost to time or to evade invading soldiers. These tales, which are frequently spoken around fireplaces, allude to a hidden realm that is nevertheless enticingly unattainable. Strange stone passageways that defy natural explanation are described in these folk tales. They are straight, smooth hallways framed by blocks that are too regular to be the result of chance. Shafts and caverns that appeared almost unearthly, with deep tunnels that extended straight down into darkness, were mentioned by locals. Some people thought the stories included shards of long-forgotten reality, but many others wrote them off as myth or superstition. They envisioned passages that would be difficult for contemporary science to duplicate, constructed by ancient builders using sophisticated instruments. These stories were made richer by the ethnic diversity of the area. Every group had stories about the underground, spoke different languages, and had their own customs. By fusing historical memory with the imagination, these stories maintained a common feeling of mystery surrounding the mountains. The mountains themselves protected mysteries too ancient to be documented in writing. Because of this, the underground lore created a parallel history that was passed down orally as opposed to in writing or stone. Explorers were unable to disregard these enduring local legends when they started conducting contemporary geological investigations in the 20th century. Large swaths of the Caucasus were left unexplored despite Soviet expeditions mapping the region extensively in pursuit of natural riches like minerals and oil. Not well understood. Mountaineers and villagers kept hearing tales of strange shafts and carved blocks, which stoked their interest despite the government's silence. These myths served as a guide for scientists who thought the mountains were home to more than simply valuable minerals. A few of the myths were closely related to the notion of extinct civilizations, 15-8 societies that existed before the known ancient cultures. The idea of underground cities was not exclusive to the Caucasus. Comparable myths are found all across the world, but in this case, they were based on real-world geographical characteristics. Intriguingly, descriptions of uniform shafts and stone blocks paralleled the actual vertical route that was later discovered. The distinction between fiction and reality was muddled by this overlap between the story and tangible facts, which led to conjecture over the actual nature of the shaft. The oral histories, which are interwoven with the region's identity, retained tales of invasions, secret hideouts, and antiquated technologies. Some stories even alluded to at the thought of holy locations or strongholds hidden beneath the mountains, where energy or information from long ago might be kept. Despite being mystical, These concepts frequently appeared in local narratives, prompting inquiries about the shaft's potential use beyond architecture. Folklore was more than just entertainment for the academics who were drawn to these stories. It could serve as a guide. Some people thought that these ancient myths included hints that may reveal the shaft's mysteries and tell scientists what to search for or anticipate. The combination of stone and story produced a mysterious atmosphere that begged for caution as well as a deeper examination. The shaft was more than just a natural marvel after all, if these tales were accurate. But the mountains were good at keeping their secrets. These stories had been passed down for years, but no concrete evidence of underground cities or organized buildings had surfaced. This discrepancy between myth and empirical data only strengthened the case for the shaft's discovery. The shaft itself seemed to be the living core of all those hushed tales, requiring fresh research into both the past and the future. Modern explorers discovered another layer of mystery amid these stories of ancient passages: the darker periods of history, where obsession and violence met among the peaks. Early exploration and relationships. During wartime, early in the 21st century, interest in the Kara-Hora shaft increased, largely because of Russian speleologist Artur Gemachov, who was well known for venturing into distant and hazardous caverns. Gemachov combined folklore and historical materials to guide his excursions, placing a great deal of trust in local stories and wartime records. In contrast to certain scientists who only paid attention to maps and scientific surveys, his perseverance brought him to Kara-Hora Mountain in 2011, where he was captivated by tales of a lofty, steep passageway that matched the description of the enigmatic shaft. Gemachov was aware of the complicated history of the region. During their 1942 campaign, German forces showed an uncommon interest in the Caucasus region, according to World War II documents, with some indicating they targeted important locations well beyond traditional military targets. These historical hints increased the mystery surrounding the shaft's location and suggested that it might still have relevance today. When Gemachov and his group arrived in the shaft, their discoveries were remarkably consistent with the wartime rumors as well as the tales. The vertical opening matched historical reports and local descriptions exactly, as if the mystery at this very moment, recorded events and legends came together. For the first time, his journey verified that the shaft was a real, remarkable location, rather than just a legend. Beyond Gemachov, rumors of the hole drew the attention of numerous investigators and adventurers. One well-known person was Vadim Chernobrov, who founded the Kosmopoloisk group, which looks into strange occurrences all around Russia. Chernobrov's group conducted more explorations inside the hole, taking pictures of polished surfaces and symmetrical stone slabs. These pictures rekindled interest around the world and established the shaft as one of the most perplexing mysteries of contemporary times. A terrifying element was imparted by the wartime setting. When the 1930s and 1940s came around, Heinrich Himmler and other important Nazi leaders had a strong interest in occult and esoteric pursuits, looking for mystical relics and old knowledge. German expeditions seeking these goals in addition to their military objectives may have been lured to the Caucasus because it is mythologically rich and isolated enough to hide secrets. Swastika-like carvings discovered close to the pit further connected the location to these somber wartime tales, obfuscating the distinction between occult inquiry and military operations. A complicated picture was created by the blending of science, myth, and wartime intrigue. The whole was a site steeped in legends of previous battles and covert activities, in addition to being an archaeological and geological wonder. The reasons for German interest remained conjectural despite the additional physical evidence, supporting interpretations ranging from esoteric research to strategic resource control. Even while it was exciting, exploration was not at all simple. There were significant risks associated with the shaft's tight entrance, deep depth, and unstable vertical drop. To negotiate the narrow stone walls, teams had to use ropes and climbing equipment, which called for skill and courage. The risks made it clear that solving this riddle required both mental and physical stamina. However, the potential to reveal a secret that could change the course of history seemed to outweigh the risks for those who were motivated to find the truth. The link between 20th century military activities and ancient stonework implied that the shaft served as a meeting point where various goals and periods clashed in the shadows. The mystery only grew from these depths, where history, myth, and human aspiration converge, pointing to the incredible features concealed farther into the mountain. Deep beneath the silent peaks of the Caucasus, something ancient waits, untouched, unseen, and unanswered. Was it nature's impossible creation, or the last whisper of a forgotten civilization buried by time itself? The deeper explorers go, the stranger the truth becomes. Maybe this shaft was never meant to be found, or maybe it's the key to a chapter of human history we were never supposed to uncover. One thing's certain: the mountain isn't done keeping its secrets. This is the mystery shaft of the Caucasus, and what lies beyond it might change everything we know about our past.